Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, LVX777. In today's video, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we know of as the ego, or according to the Vedic texts, we call ahamkara. Now, the reason that I would like to make a video about this aspect of your being and my being is because this is quite possibly one of the most important functions of the self that should be managed properly, because it exists at the root of everything else. Really, it does. Now, of course, as I've said before, I'd like to clarify that ego has nothing really to do with how important you are or the estimation you have of yourself. That's not what we're talking about. When we talk about ego, we're talking about ahamkara from the angle of the Vedic system. And literally what this means is the function of mind that defines things and places meaning on things. Now, this is very important because at the root of everything that you do, there's meaning and there's definition behind it. And depending on what the meaning is that you have of your reality, depends on what you get. You don't get too much outside of what you have defined. Point blank, period. So in this relatively short video, I'm just going to compare this function of self, of course, to the 5 elements, the 7 chakras, and just a few things about it. So first and foremost, when we look at this function of mind, we're dealing with a function of self whose primary goal is to label things, to name things, and to give them a definition. So this is going on at the root operating system of the mind. And if this aspect is not balanced or left under some type of control, then it can certainly run amok. And when I say run amok, what I mean is you have no control over your experience. You have become a slave to the matrix if you are not in control of your meaning-making function, your meaning-making faculty, or as we say in the Vedics, ahamkara, Omkar. Now, this is important because this is the stage of mind that creates reality. So let's get into a diagram, shall we? So as you know, the 5 elements line up with the 5 chakras, and they also line up with the 5 planes of existence that we have somewhat of a conscious control of navigating through. Now, after those 5, there are 2 more levels. The 6th level is what I'm talking about. It's very difficult for people to grasp. And that 7th level, that really is our goal with magic, to connect with what we call this higher self. Because this is the aspect of self that exists outside of the matrix, or at least as far enough outside of the matrix as we can intentionally go. So again, if you don't know this, probably a good idea to write this down. So what I'm going to draw is a diagram of the 5 elements lined up with the 7 chakras. Most of y'all who've been on my channel for a long time already know this, but there's new people all the time. And plus, repetition is great for learning. So speaking of those of you, welcome, welcome. Peace and welcome, Hecate. Good to see you. Terrio Cool Whip. Peace, niggas. Mariah Magdalene. Good evening. Atropa. Good to see you. Sunshine Chick. Peace, peace, peace. Lance Benefield. Welcome back once again, my friend. I can tell you're learning a lot. Petty Midnight Gospel. Welcome. Dub VT. Good to see you, my man. Azrael Walker. Peace, peace. So let's get into this. If you got something to write with, maybe sketch this down. So when I draw the 5 elements, I illustrate them using the symbols that the Vedics used. So we begin at the very bottom level with the earth element. And those of you know, that is represented as a square, right? Bam. Directly above that, I'm going to draw the water element, which is represented by a crescent. Above that, I'm going to draw a triangle, which represents the fire element. Above that, a circle for the air element. Then finally, an egg shape for the Akash. Then above that, we're going to do Omkar. And actually, I can kind of redo this so that we can fit the 7th chakra. So hold on. I'm going to redraw all this. El Diablo Negrowth. Peace. Monica Lawan. Hey. All right. So let me try this one more time. Square, crescent, triangle, circle, the black egg, Omkar, and of course, the higher self. All right. So here we've got these 5 elements. And here they are stacked and arranged according to density. Now, existing within the matrix, we're dealing with nothing but layers upon layers of patterns. Okay? Layers upon layers of patterns. Everything within the matrix is represented and exists through patterns, relationships, and relationships of patterns. So in this case, we're talking about density. And when I say density, when something is more dense, it's closer to the physical plane, the objective universe. This is everything that can be touched and felt and sensed with your 5 senses. So that's the physical plane. Now, the least dense and the most subtle is going to be this aspect of the higher self. According to the Vedic technology, we call this buddhi. Buddhi represents what we've come to know as the higher self. It exists just outside of objective reality, far enough that it isn't heavily influenced by objective reality. See, everything else down here is heavily influenced by objective reality. At the point of the earth element or the physical plane, the influence is so heavy that things are already pretty much formed and given a concrete pattern. So there isn't much changing that you can do from the terrestrial plane. So this is going to represent the earth element, which is also the physical plane. This is going to represent the water element, which is also the etheric plane. It's the fire element representing the astral plane. And again, I said this is layers of density. So the lower we go, the more dense, the closer you are to experiencing with just your 5 senses, with your body. All right. So this is just raw body feeling and everything that you can experience on this material plane. The etheric plane, we're dealing more with what happens when mind is involved, right? We're dealing more with your perception of these things and whether or not you like or you dislike. Now, this also is the realm of imagination and visualization and all these things that are going on in your subjective reality that has a direct influence on your physical existence. You feel me? So down here is just physical stuff. Up here is whether or not you like or dislike that physical stuff. Now, above here, dealing with this astral plane. See, the astral plane is not exactly this fantasy land of amazing magical forms and unicorns and dragons and everything. The astral plane can be better thought of as a world fully expressed through emotion. Now, that doesn't mean your emotions about something. That's down here. Pure emotion, raw emotion, right? Let the hate flow through you, right? Or love. It doesn't matter. As long as there is raw emotion that doesn't depend on anything physical, you're dealing with the astral plane. This is where the states come into play, right? Your states of mind, which are influenced and backed up entirely by emotion. So here you got the mental plane. And just like the astral plane is composed of raw emotion, the mental plane is composed of raw conceptual landscape. So not just thoughts, but the archetypes and patterns of thinking, right? Ways that energy is expressed purely subjectively. See, things that exist in the mental plane, they don't die. They don't die because they're not dependent on anything physical. Now, we can express the mental plane through the physical. We can express the astral plane through the physical, and we can express the imagination plane through the physical. But none of these planes are dependent on the physical. The physical is the end result of all these planes having an effect. Now, above the mental plane, which is the air element, we've got the Akashic plane. Mariah Magdalene says, what element does mental represent? That's represented by the air element. So here's what I'll do to make this a little bit easier. I'll do E for earth, W for water, F for fire, A for air. Then you got the Akashic. Then you got Omkar, ahamkara, Om. And then, of course, you got Buddhi, which is the higher self, or the highest aspect that we can directly perceive, for lack of better words. Okay, so keep in mind now that we've got 7 things here. So what that also means is that this lines up with the chakra points. This lines up also with the chakra points. So what we've got here is the earth element lining up with the physical plane, the water element lining up with the etheric plane, the fire element lining up with the astral plane, the air element lining up with the mental plane, the Akashic element lining up with the causal plane, Omkara area being Om, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And then, of course, Buddhi, which is the highest self. Now, basically, what we're experiencing here with the physical plane is just raw sensation. Everything that you're picking up with your body. All the stuff that you see, you hear, you taste, you smell, you touch. Everything that you cognize with your dense 5 senses, that's what's happening down here. Jatoria Morris says, would you say Manomaya Kosha, Tifereth have connections since they both deal with the specifics of the mental realm? Absolutely. To be honest, just look at the cover of Mystical Kabbalah. This is to answer your question, Jatoria Morris. Just look at what's happening here on the cover of Mystical Kabbalah. This is the same diagram that I just drew. The 5 to 7 elements as well as the chakras. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Same thing. Same thing. So technically, we got the physical plane, the etheric plane, the astral plane, mental plane, causal plane, Omkar, and Buddhi. So, yes, you're exactly right when you say that Manomaya Kosha, Tifereth have a connection since they both deal with the specifics of the mental realm. Absolutely. Good eye, sniper. You've been listening and or studying. Excellent. Luminous E, peace. D West, peace. Al Dickey, good to see you. Shield and Mace, peace, peace. Unicorn Universe, peace. Phoenix Wolfette, peace. I think I said peace to you. If not, peace again. Yeah. So again, go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't hit it already. We've got like less than 50% of the likes according to people who are actually here. If you like the video, just hit the like button. It does help here in the YouTube universe, believe it or not. Okay. So basically, this whole conversation, I want to really point to the significance of Omkar, ego, ahamkara. Okay, now this has nothing to do with you being full of pride or thinking that you're better than other people. That's not the ego that we're talking about. All right. So, what this actually deals with is the creation of meaning and the creation of definition for your reality. It is at this realm that you start to put meaning on things. So if you look at the Bible, when in Genesis, God created Adam, he tasked Adam with a simple task, which was go out and name everything. Now, the thing is, the Bible, or at least a major part of it, is an occult book with metaphysical significance. And the Bible didn't just say, tell Adam to go name stuff. That was displaying that at the very root of man's operating system is his function of putting labels on things, because that's the start of the process. Once you label something, then you start categorizing everything else. So once that labeling process happens, this is deep level now. This is deep level stuff. This isn't just you know, it goes from something as minimum to you labeling something as good and bad to something where you're saying this is good because this and this, and it's bad because that and that. It's deep level. It's so deep level that this is a level that's difficult to change. It's deeply rooted in most people. This is why people get triggered and butthurt, because when you start challenging their labels, they take it personally. This is why it's so important. When you have these labels, you identify yourself with them. You become one with these labels. That's why in this yoga system, we study what's called non-attachment to understand what's happening here. Because if you don't understand, you literally go around here thinking that you are your labels and you're bound to them. And that's what creates karma. And that's what creates you to identify with the densest level of reality, because you identify with the labels that you've placed on objective reality. And I don't really have to explain that too much, because just look around you. All the stuff that you have in your environment and all the things that have happened in your life, they're due largely to the fact that you've labeled things, you've labeled experiences, you've labeled relationships with people and with objects and with yourself. You've labeled all these things. And so you've created visions about them, you've created feelings about them, and you've got concepts attached to them. And you continue to produce more and more and more of what you have already. That's why this deep level function of mind is so important to have a conscious control over. And when I say control, you're not going to be able to control it 100%, not yet. But what you can do is start the process of becoming aware of when this is happening. So depending on what you label something as, this is going to begin to funnel your choices, and it's going to funnel the direction that you go. So based on what you've labeled reality as at this Omkara level, that's going to select. We used to have these books when I was younger. They were like, choose your own path. And you'd have these books, and it's like you would read it, and it's like, do you want to take the left door or the right door? If you want to take the left door, turn to page 35. If you want to take the right door, go to page 612. And you would read the book like that. And like, you make the choice of where you can go. So likewise, depending on how you label your experience, you're going to be taking on a different path of what you pull out of the Akash, right? We can think of the Akash as this massive library of DVDs. And in this massive library of DVDs, when you pick a DVD out, you put it into the player, you're going to get a specific movie. Now, yeah, you can jump from scene to scene. You can hit repeat. But if you put in the Avengers 2 DVD, you're not going to be watching Star Wars Episode 5, right? So the Akashic records, we can look at this layer of existence that we call Akash, or the causal plane. We can look at that as a massive, infinite library of different DVDs of experiences. Now, when you select an experience based on what you've labeled, that's going to have along with it a specific group of concepts and ideas. That's where the mental plane comes into play. Now, based on the specific concepts and ideas and archetypes that you have chosen, based on what you've picked out of the Akashic records, based on what you've labeled reality to be, now you're going to have a select number of emotions that can be generated based on those concepts. And those emotions are going to lead you, these emotional states, they're going to lead you to have a specific type of imaginative experience. See, we're not just walking around like zombies. Everything that we do with our physical body, at the same time we're thinking and we're imagining and we're visualizing and we're hearing and we're doing all the stuff in our subjective reality. That's all entirely based on the emotional state that we find ourselves in, which is entirely based on the concepts and algorithmic thoughts that we have, which is entirely based on the DVD that we picked out of the Akashic records, which all boils down to the label that you put on your experience. Now, needless to say, the label that you place on your experience leads to what DVD you pick, which leads to what thoughts you have, which leads to what emotions you feel, which leads to how you visualize life. That's going to have the massive effect on your physical experience. That's why I said in the beginning that you're not really going to change reality at the physical level. This is the end result. This physical level is the end result of your imagination, your emotions, your concepts, and the slice of life you chose based on the label. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't make sense. Because the physical experience, this physical plane, this is nothing. This is nothing. Everything physical is what it is. Like everything physical is just matter. The physical plane is just matter. There's no special matter. Nobody has special physical melanin more so than someone else, right? Everything physical is just matter. But see, where the magic comes in is the type of visualization we place on it, the type of emotion we put behind it, the type of concepts and archetypes that are behind it, right? You see what I'm saying? Like the magic is happening up in the subjective realm where we're putting definition and meaning on these things. That's what makes, if you decide, oh, melanin, that's what makes it magical and special. Not the physical substance, but what you place behind it. So nothing is true. Everything is permitted. You can have any belief system. You can have any belief system, right? You can literally walk around in black robes all day and consider yourself a Sith Lord if you want to. And you can imagine what type of concepts, what type of emotions, what type of visualizations you're going to place on your entire physical existence. This is a major reason why I said last week an assignment that I recommend is play around with different beliefs. Take on a belief that's not yours just for a couple of minutes. What's it like? Visualize for yourself that you are a racist redneck and you hate all people of color, right? Put yourself in that person's shoes and try to find the good intention behind it. Like what are they really trying to do for themselves? Because here's the thing that we all have in common. We all want to make our experience better. We all want to be happy. We all want to gravitate towards pleasure and move away from pain. That's what we all have. Now, by the time it trickles down this tree of life, by the time it gets to the physical plane, it's come out as a different expression of these things. But no piece of matter is good or evil. There is nothing on this planet or this physical plane that is inherently good or inherently evil. Do you understand that? What is good and evil are the definitions and the labels that you placed on these things. That's what makes it good or evil. Good and evil don't exist inherently. But what happens is when we have a certain label for something good or a label for something evil, that's going to determine how we experience it and how we interact with it. So this is why I said in the beginning, it's crucial to get somewhat of a handle on your definitions. That's what the function of Om really is. When you look at Om and how it's described, we're looking at a sine wave. We're looking at up, down. And that up, down has three different motions. We know those as Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. All right? We've been learning about this all year long if you've been on my channel. So the up, down, and balanced direction of these waves, the Vedics already classify them as Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. So this level of Om, that's all it is. That's all it is pure vibration. And what's happening is because we have a human soul at the very top behind those waves, and some could even say that the soul is causing those vibrations, those waves. But what happens is, since we have ego, since we have this function of mind, its nature is to label things. Its very nature is to label. So what happens is because we don't understand our nature, we let it run amok. Now, here's the thing. As soon as you label something, you experience it. As soon as you label something, you start to experience it. So if somebody, we see this running amok on the internet today. Everybody's got their little movements. Everybody's got all these labels and categories for what they identify as and what they believe that this person's doing and that person's doing. It's only true because these people make it true. And they get a bunch of people behind them co-signing it, and it becomes even more true. Which leads me to my next point. You got to be able to check yourself. Because if you don't check yourself, you're going to build a prison. You're going to build a prison of labels and words that don't serve you. So a good thing to do is to, look, This is the physical plane right here. This is objective reality. See there, I wrote objective. Now I drew that line right there because that's the physical plane. Now it isn't until you really reach a high level of understanding that you see that this is not actually 7 separate levels, but one level. But for our intents and purposes of describing, the physical plane is the only objective experience. Now above that is everything that we call subjective. That means it's happening within the realm of your inner experience, right? Inner experience. So what that means is everything that you're talking about that can be sensed with the 5 senses belongs down here to the earth element. That's why I'm saying there's nothing special, fancy, magical, or spiritual about anything that you can touch, taste, smell, hear, etc. Right? The magic is happening in the subjective realm. And what's happening is because our subjective realm is our access point to what power actually is, which is the ability to facilitate change. If we're able to go deep enough into these higher levels, now we're able to truly have a physical effect on the objective reality based on our subjective, based on our mind, based on what we believe, based on what we think and feel. The deeper we're able to tap into these planes with intention, the more thorough we're able to cause objective change. That's what magic is. That's what magic is, right? So everything that you can taste, touch, feel, and all that stuff, that's just matter. That's just the material plane. That's it. There's nothing here that is magical. Everything here is the same thing, just in a different state of existence. The magic comes from these higher planes. Like the video, because we still have less than half likes in comparison to the people who are viewing. So if you like this information, if you want me to keep making videos like this, I simply ask that you hit the like button. Please and thank you. And it's not even that big a deal, but because we're using this platform called YouTube, they really do categorize and promote these videos based on engagement. So if you have a thumb, please engage with that like button. So what was I saying? What was I saying? Oh yeah, I was talking about being grounded. You can either be grounded or be ungrounded, right? And here's what you have to do. You've got to take a good look at your beliefs and your labels and the way that you define reality. And you got to make sure that it lines up with some type of objective change, right? What's the difference between somebody just doing cosplay and then someone entering a magical state, dressing up and doing their ritual? What's the difference between somebody that's actually doing their ritual in their ritual attire versus somebody just doing cosplay? Who can tell me the difference? Especially based on what I just said about being grounded and being ungrounded. What's the difference? While I'll answer that, I'm going to look at some of the comments. Oh yeah. Peace to everyone who's joined. Alora, good to see you. Kevin Wise, peace fam, peace. Framestar Films, welcome aboard. Starscream 7X, peace. Moran Magdalene says it must exist in the etheric before the physical. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, nothing exists in the physical plane if it doesn't already exist in those higher planes. They're stacked like this for a reason. What I've said before is that ultimately in the Akashic plane, the Akashic plane, like I said, this is a library of anything and everything, right? The prototype. This can be thought of as like a library full of DVDs, magical DVDs. And when you put these DVDs into the DVD player, when that disc spins around, you get the movie that you can watch. The laser hits it, right? The scenes begin to display and you're sitting back on the screen watching it, right? So in order for it to be physical, it first must exist in every plane above it. That's why the higher the plane, you can think of the more potential it is, right? The etheric plane is bigger than the physical plane. The astral plane is bigger than the etheric plane. The mental plane is bigger than the astral plane, right? The Akashic plane contains all the 5 elements, just like a DVD. I'm using that metaphor for a reason. I'm not just saying it because it's convenient. Like, the Akashic plane is really a lot like a storehouse of DVDs. And when we get that Om level, this is being able to even cognize what is in this library. And it all happens because of the influence of Buddhi, which is the ghost in the machine. This is the soul within the matrix. Now, the true soul has never manifested in the matrix whatsoever. The true soul is actually outside of this whiteboard. The true soul surrounds it, and it's everything else. The same way that I'm holding this whiteboard, putting my thoughts onto it with a marker. So the soul that we do come to experience isn't even the full soul. It's just a slice of it that is within the matrix. So again, everything is about patterns within patterns within patterns. Within Buddhi is Om. And to get really technical and somewhat confusing, this is just a relationship between masculine and feminine. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean penis and vagina? It means that one is the activator and one is the formulator. One takes that activation and turns it into something. So the soul would be the activator and matter would be the formulator. You're going to see that relationship echoed all the way down the levels. So here's what I mean. The soul, Buddhi would be the activator. Om would be the formulator. It forms what has been activated. You can have that same relationship here. Om would be the formulator. Akash would be the, Om would be the activator. Akash would be the formulator. So Akash is going to form what Om has activated. The mental plane is going to formulate what Akasha has activated. The astral plane is going to formulate what the mental plane has activated. The etheric plane is going to formulate what the astral plane has activated. The physical plane is going to formulate what the etheric plane has activated. It's about relationships and patterns of relationships. This applies to the tree of life. This applies to the Vedic Sanskrit information. This applies to the chakras. This applies to psychology and NLP and all that stuff. Like, this applies to everything. There's actually terms, words, and phrases, and all those different categories of study that I just named for all of this right here. NLP talks about this. Kabbalah talks about this. The Vedic sciences is where this came from. No matter what system you go to, if they have a comprehensive and complete structure of reality, they're going to talk about these different layers. It's going to be different words. So this isn't something that's exclusive to what I believe. This is universal science, and you're going to see it echoed across the board. So let's see here. Garrett Patterson, peace. Om Namah Shivaya, peace, peace. Om Namah Shivaya says the 5 elements are indicated in these supreme names. Namah Shivaya. Na is earth, Ma is water, She is fire, Va is air, Ya is ether. Lord Shiva is root cause of the 5 elements. Exactly. Good eye. Good study. Garrett Patterson says ego is trying to understand something it cannot. That's one frame of looking at it, yes. And what I'm challenging you to observe in this video is that the definition of ego can be much more than that definition that we've been given for many, many years. As a matter of fact, it isn't really ego. That's just roughly what it's translated to. What I'm talking about is called ahamkara, which relates to the level of Om. And its function is to create definition and labels, just like the definition and label that you have for ego. But what would happen if you change that definition and that label? You would change your experience, and you would change how you understand and interpret reality. That's the point of this video. We're dealing with words and definitions of these words, and those are more important than whatever system you work with. So in being able to have flexible control over how you define reality is going to determine how powerful you can actually be. Yamaika, peace. Ogun, the warlock, Osli, peace. All right, thank you guys for liking this video. Seems like we have caught up. Afro Samurai says you don't know until they got you on their sacrificial table. I don't know who they is. I don't know about no sacrificial table. But good luck with that, my friend. All right, so let's look at some of these answers to the question that I asked. What's the difference between simply dressing up in cosplay versus donning your ritual gear to go into ritual? What's the difference? So let's see. Lance Benefield says, Trav, is Rajas, Thomas, and Satwa loops or different measurements of time? They're the description of how energy flows, how consciousness flows. It's a description of movement. One goes up, one goes down, one is instability. So there's many different names for these things, but it's simply the function of something going up, something going down, and something being stable. Now, in a world where there is no up and down, what do you think that means? Okay, so Azrael Walker says inner work. That's a good one. D West says intentions are different. Absolutely. Luminous E says one is grounded in truth. What is truth? Anubis says think one just needs more stuff to build their focus. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Framestar Film says awareness of focused intention to create change, right? So intention. Alora says it's like the degrees of awareness. The higher you go, the more information you receive. Absolutely. D West says thoughts and feelings. Yes. Yes. Framestar says thought and speech. Lance Benefield says this is the cure for mental illness. If we could understand this. Yeah. There has pretty much any case of mental illness has been solved by this type of science. Like there's been practitioners who have actually healed multiple people from schizophrenia. So this stuff really does work if you have a competent teacher and someone who actually wants change. For sure, for sure. Om Namah Shivaya says, if Om comes from Buddhi, then what is the mantra of the Buddhi? Well, technically there is no mantra from Buddhi. At least that's what Swami Satchisangananda says. I have seen a mantra for Buddhi. And it was Ogum Satyam Om. I haven't really seen anything to verify that other than chakra dhyana meditation. But typically everywhere that I've looked, there is no mantra for Buddhi. Again, because Buddhi exists just beyond the realm of Om's influence. And with Om being the beginning of vibration, Buddhi is just outside of that. Buddhi is the closest that Prakriti is to Purusha. So there isn't going to be much movement or much direct access. Garrett Patterson says a frame of mind. Yes. All right. So basically, we look at someone that's just cosplaying versus someone who is donning their ritual gear. Well, I mean, really the difference is exactly what you said, Garrett Patterson, a frame of mind, right? A frame of mind. They say real recognize real, right? You can tell if you're about to do something and your heart is not in it. Like you already know. You might be able to lie to yourself pretty good, but there's a difference between faking it till you make it and actually stepping into a new belief system, right? For any of you who have actually done ceremonial magic, like actually done it for real, no, you don't have to dress up. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything but close your eyes, really. But for some people who do actually go into the motions, the physical motions of ritual, when you begin to don yourself in that physical attire, when you begin to take the candles and you have the music, what you're doing is you're actually transferring into a different state. You're literally opening up a ritual space, not just in your physical environment, but in your subjective reality as well. So the ritual gear that one dons, like again, it's just magic. So it's not magical in itself. What we're dealing with here is the frame of mind that is now changed based on you taking the actions to begin this ritual. It's just like what they say with sex, right? You got foreplay. Foreplay isn't exactly what they would call sex, but it leads you into it. And honestly, if you talk about foreplay and someone who knows what they're doing, it doesn't start when you get into the bedroom. Foreplay can start at the beginning of the day and gradually lead itself up. Because what we're doing is we're intensifying states. And if you've been able to program certain objects to represent triggers within you to intensify the state, that's what makes it different. Someone who's just playing dress up in cosplay, they're not doing all that work. They literally are thinking that if I put on this outfit, I'm now a magical creature. And if they're able to get physical results with that, by all means, great. But there's a lot of people who don magical gear or put a new name on themselves and wonder why they're not actually getting the results. It's because deep down at that belief level, at that labeling level, you know you're just playing. So if at that deep level where you know that you're just playing, then you've selected categories now to exist through. Oh, I'm just playing. I'm not serious. So you at that deep root, at that deep level, you're not even allowing yourself a chance to have success. Whereas someone who does ritual, they know that once they light that candle, once they start that binaural beat track, once they put on whatever, they're entering into a magical state. They don't have to be there 24/7, but they know that when they are there, they've now placed in a DVD called I'm about to get this work. Right? And then when you're done with the ritual and you wrap it all up, you take the DVD back out and you go back to being a normal person, quote unquote. So that's an example of how this is important when doing rituals. But just think about on your day-to-day life. When you wake up and you put on your clothes, you're like, man, I hate this job. I hate going to work, right? What kind of belief pattern are you setting into motion? What are you setting yourself up for throughout the day or throughout your career? Yeah, the job could suck and it could actually feel like shit. But you know what? If you believe that you still need to go there to pay those bills, the best thing you can do for yourself is to go up to this level of definition and start to change what you believe. This is why gratitude is so efficient. Because when you place in the DVD of gratitude, you now have a different set of options of how to experience reality. It's not faking it till you make it. You're changing your state and your frame of mind. There's a state, and a state is created by having frames of mind. Your frame of mind is your frame of reference, right? So if you got a frame of reference of gratitude, whenever something happens to you, you can now look at it from the angle of gratitude as opposed to the angle of I hate this job. I hate this place. I'm not coming back here when I'm not going to reincarnate. I want to get off this planet. Earth is ghetto. When you have all these beliefs about reality, why do you think that you're suffering? There's a difference between fake it till you make it, and there's a difference between changing your state by having more solid frames of reality. See, this is that kind of magic that can have a real effect on you right now. You don't have to wait 6 weeks. What's up, MC Maestro? So again, make sure that the definitions, labels, beliefs, and frames that you have for reality makes sense. Make sure it lines up with your objective experience. And if you're trying to change and transition, then make evidence for yourself. If you start walking around with gratitude and saying, I appreciate my life, everything is good, and I love everything, you're going to have some proof, right? Make proof, right? Make proof. Find things to be grateful for. If you're grateful for your body, find proof. What are you grateful for about your body? Right? Especially if you're not grateful, find something to be grateful for. Are you grateful for your hair, your skin? I don't know, your strength or whatever. When you start finding things to be grateful for, you're adding evidence and proof to support that frame of mind, which means that you can start to reinforce that frame, which means that now you have a better selection of concepts, emotional states, and things that you can visualize. That means your ideas. If you're an entrepreneur or a creative person or a human being who lives on planet Earth, you know that the more robust and creative that you can be, the better things you're going to produce, the better ideas you're going to have, the better things you're going to say, right? All that comes from having a state of mind that is fertile and healthy. But that fertile, healthy imagination cannot exist with a shitty frame. I mean, yeah, I've made some really good music being depressed, but I made even better music when I was happy. Lance Benefield says, pick a goddess or god you're connected to and pretend to be that deity like you used to play with toys. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Your parents might have told you to put those toys away and stop playing with them. And maybe you did that. But if you're somebody who used to play with toys and have a blast, I was just talking with my cousin earlier, like that's what we were doing when we were kids. We were channeling these forces. And in our minds, we saw the toys, fighting and blasting and jumping and flying. In our childhood imaginations, we saw this full spectrum of activity. That's not gone. You still have access to that. You just have to get yourself into the state, right? Get yourself into the state. So look, I don't care if people don't understand why I do what I do. I don't care if people don't understand why I do what I do. I know that what I do works, and that's why I do it. The fact that what I do works is more important than anybody's opinion on what they think I'm doing, or I should say their lack of understanding. See, the thing about each and every one of us is that we have a different matrix. You can't look at somebody and assume that you understand what's going on in their world. I don't care if we're using the same words. The words we use don't have the same definitions. That's why I take the time to try my best to be as clear as possible with what I'm saying. Because although the words I use may not be the exact words that you use, if I'm clear, then you'll be able to find something that connects at least to what I'm talking about. And that's what makes communication effective, to try your best to speak the same language. We all might use the context of English, but we're not speaking the same content. So you have to make sure. If what you want is to be understood. But anyways, going back to the toys, if it puts you into a state of having fun and getting those creative juices flowing, then what was really so bad about doing that? What was really so bad about that? Do what you got to do to make yourself into the best, most efficient state possible. Do what you got to do to enter the most efficient state possible. Don't worry about what these people are talking about. They don't have any control over themselves. So why are you going to let them try to control you? Why are you going to try to let them control you? If they don't even understand what they're doing, why would you take their advice? Do what you got to do to put yourself into the best state of mind possible, the best state of emotions possible, the best frame of reference possible. Now, you don't have to be on the damn roof of your house screaming, holding your action figures, but at least create and take the time within your little space to create a perfect universe and absorb that, feel it, be it, do it, and watch what kind of effect it has on your day-to-day life. There's a lot of people who've given up fun because they think that to be spiritual, you've got to be serious. You've got to just meditate and read all day and watch lectures all day. So what happens when you starve yourself of fun? You know what the soul does? The soul begs for it. And sometimes it comes up as a complex. And now you start developing weird habits that you can't really stop because your body and your mind is trying to satisfy itself. But now it's out of control because you tried to starve it. Make sure that you're giving yourself something to play with. And you don't need anyone else's approval. And you don't need to play with anybody else. You can play with yourself. Sometimes it's better and safer to do it that way. All right, so I hope you guys are getting good information from this video. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Monica Lawan says there is a knowing and true becoming. Yes. Yes. All right. So, yeah, like I said, I hope that you guys are finding this information useful because, I mean, really, like I said, this is stuff that you can apply right now. You can literally apply it right now. Listen, I am one Amazon click away from getting myself a lightsaber. I didn't do it, but almost. Not even for Instagram, not even for YouTube, but because I want to cut the lights off and have an imaginary lightsaber duel. We'll think about it though. Azrael Walker says, I had a whole reality show for my toys, right? You entered into a different state of existence and allowed those energies to channel through you, and you can still do it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be done in the same exact way. Maybe you can find a new way to express those same energies. MC Maestro says grateful or appreciative or a synonym. Yeah, I couldn't conjure gratitude because of the definition I grew up with, but using synonyms, I was able to gain that frame. That's an excellent point. So maybe when I say gratitude or I say forgiveness, right, something might come up in your head that causes resistance. I learned that some people have trouble with the word forgiveness. Well, find a synonym. Find a synonym. Find a synonym. Understand what I'm trying to say. Understand what's trying to be communicated. Because maybe the word gratitude might not be enough. Maybe appreciative, like what you said. Either way, look at the state of mind of being open. Not to demons and strange angels and creatures, but just to love and life, right? You might call, look, and here's another thing. These emotions are not so various. There's only a couple of emotions, but there's a ton of labels, right? I use this example all the time. When you get on that roller coaster and you're going up, you start getting those butterflies in your stomach, your palms are sweating, you're shaking a little bit, you get nervous, you're kind of aware of what's going on. You can call that a million different things, but that same feeling comes up in different scenarios, right? Let's say you have, I don't know if people still have crushes these days, but let's say there's someone that you're really attracted to and you meet them face to face. That same feeling bubbles up. You're about to step on stage and perform or give a presentation. That same feeling comes up, right? You can watch a lot of these documentaries behind musicians and everything. Like, many of them still get that feeling when they step on stage and they can hear the crowd roaring outside, right? It's the same feeling, but we give it a different label. Sometimes we call it anxiety. Sometimes we call it fear. Sometimes we call it excitement, right? Depending on the label that you place upon it determines the experience that you can have afterwards. You get what I'm saying here? Like, it's that important. It's that serious. D West says, we're grateful for you, Travis, and ourselves and for each other. Yes, ma'am. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for all y'all. That is the truth. Free the robots. Peace. Perfect we lid. Peace. Yeah, Micah says, Travis, this is changing my life, and my stubborn self wasn't wanting to believe it could. Awesome, brother. Awesome. You will be amazed at what you shall become sooner than you think. Moby, peace, peace. Perfect Wheelie says, the anime Berserk reminds me of the things you speak of, G, especially the character Griffith, who becomes born again and transcends good and evil. Truly a masterpiece. I've heard about Berserk, but I haven't read it. Garrett Patterson asks, what are angels? I used to pray and asked, could I be as important as one of the chosen they wrote about in the Bible? So angels are descriptions of algorithms. They're descriptions of motion of change, right? So we've come to realize that there is a motion of change, that at some point in the day around 6 a.m., it starts to get really bright outside. And about 6 hours later, in most places, it gets really hot. And then about 6 hours later, it gets darker. And then 6 hours after that, it's the darkest, right? We've noticed that that's a pattern of change of energy. So we've given it labels, names, and titles: day, noon, dawn, dusk, midnight. Now, it's not actually any of those things, but we use those labels to grasp what's happening. If I say daytime, nighttime, noon, you're instantly going to know what I'm talking about. Now, your noon is not going to be the same as mine. When I vision noon, I think of something. When you vision noon, you think of something. And it's probably associated with memories that you've had. Right? So when we talk about angels, we're talking about descriptions of specific change. Now, these archangels, we're dealing with change that's on a very wide-reaching level. These are not people in the clouds with wings. You're dealing with algorithms and patterns of change of the flow of energy. Now, some of these changes, like I said, are so specific. Just like the sun coming up, we call it day. The moon coming out, the sun going down, we call that night. Those are specific flows of change. Now, there are other cosmic flows of change that don't just depend on the planet Earth. There's change that happens regardless of physical form, right? There's very, very, very subtle change. For example, one of the archangels has to do with the function of condensing, compressing, and destroying, right? And on the opposite side, there's an angel that has to do with expanding and aggregating and accumulating. Neither of them are good or evil, right? We all want our bank account to expand and accumulate. We don't want those viruses to enter our body and expand and communicate. So notice, it's actually the function of the change of energy, not the thing itself. It's the context of change, not the content of what is changing. Context over content. When you're entering into the spiritual realm, you're dealing with context, not content. So there's not an angel with wings out here who is causing things to change. The pattern, the algorithm of that change, we've given it specific labels. So this archangel, we can call it Zadkiel, we can call it Kamael, right? That deal with metabolism, anabolism, catabolism, the building up and the breaking down and the stasis, right? What we call angels, these are actually the titles that we give for those specific algorithms. Now, dealing with the Kabbalistic system, there are 10 chief archangels who deal with 10 chief algorithms of change. And it doesn't matter who or what you are, those algorithms of change affect all levels of existence. As long as it's within Prakriti, these archangels and angels have an influence. I know it'll be hard to erase the vision of people with wings out of your head, but just try to understand that when we're talking about angels, demons, and spirits, we're not talking about beasts with teeth and eyes and wings. We're dealing with mathematics at the cosmic scale. Let me know if that makes sense. And then you also said, I used to pray and ask, could I be as important as one of the chosen they wrote about in the Bible? Okay, that was somebody different. That was Lance Benefield. But still, the fact that these angels and demons and algorithms affect everything within Prakriti, from the greatest of the great person to the lowest of the low person, shows that, what's the Bible say? God is not a respecter of persons. Everything within Prakriti is under the influence of these angels, spirits, algorithms. So no one is greater than the other. Some people learn how to utilize these algorithms. And honestly, that's what makes a person great, being able to utilize these algorithms. So it doesn't matter if you are LL Cool J or Aleister Crowley. If you learn these patterns and how to employ these patterns to give yourself a more efficient lifestyle, you can consider yourself one of the greats. So that means it doesn't depend on what bloodline you were born into. It depends on, are you able to understand and grasp this information and apply it? So now all that means is be observant of reality. Pay attention to these patterns and you can pick them up. It helps to read. It helps to watch some of these lectures. It helps a lot to sit down and meditate. It helps to sit down and do these mantras. But either way, if you're keeping yourself occupied with growth, you're going to grow. Framestar Film says it's a beautiful day. Going to keep it that way. Yes, sir. Hollow Vegeta says, just waking up as a kid felt like every day was a new adventure. I was tagging then. Not sure I need a felony. All right. Well, like I said, go underneath the actual activity and find what was behind that activity. What was the meaning that you had for it? What did it do for you? What did it mean to you? right? What need were you fulfilling on the inside? When you're able to locate that, you don't have to do that same activity. You can find a different activity that still serves that inner need that you're trying to express. You feel me? No specific thing out here in the objective world is special. It's all about the meaning we carry behind it. That's what this video is about. The meaning. That's what makes the matrix go round and round and round. The meaning. That's what's happening at ahamkara, ego. That's what it does. It places labels, definitions, and meanings. The word meaning comes from the root word to hold within your mind. This is literally what's happening. So as I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, maybe a month or two by now, pay attention to your words, your language, the definitions of the words that you're using. This is what causes the reality that you can experience, not might experience. The only reality you can experience is completely dependent upon your language, upon your definitions, upon your meaning. You don't have to believe me, but you can observe and see it. You can see it for yourself. Dub V says, oh, okay, hold up. I said, no, they both believe, to answer your question, but is that one produces fruit and one doesn't? Well, that's the thing. Are you really doing magic if you're not producing results? If you're not producing results, then what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, say you do all that stuff and nothing comes of it. You're not able to identify any change. That's not magic. You're just, I don't know what you're doing. But if you can identify change that has been produced, yes, you're doing magic. Hollow Vegeta says, I got this venom covered storm figure. Y'all know what it is. Yep, I got her too downstairs. Today I just ordered the Doctor Strange with the Venom symbiote. Yeah, I'm definitely going to put that one to work. I found this one that was Killmonger with the Infinity Stones, and his skin was pink and his outfit was lime green. Man, I almost got that one too, but it was like $45, and I don't really want to drop that on that because I didn't see Black Panther, so I don't really have a backstory with him, nor did I really need that just yet. But I put it in my save for later because it was pretty damn cool. You could really feel, or at least I could, just looking at the picture, the potential. Perfect Relid says, Bill Donahue says, angels are angles of photon, messages, information sent from God. But then again, that's according to him. Okay. Maybe. But again, look at the words, you know. What is God? Where's God sending these things from? What are photons? Are photons a physical thing, or are we dealing with something subjective? In my frame of reality, when I'm dealing with angels and spirits, I'm talking about something that isn't really physical or objective. I'm dealing with something that's existing in the subjective reality. So dealing with like light and like DNA and stuff, all that is physical. And for it to be spiritual, it has got to have a non-physical counterpart. You're a real Naga Bleeze. Peace. He says, toys help us create a new narrative. I keep coming across this Instagram page where the guy has loads of figures and has mix and matches the heads like Woody from Toy Story and the Dragon Ball Z Saiyan body. Yeah, I saw that one. Hollow Vegeta says, astrology can't be the same on another planet. Again, astrology is a part of the DVD that we're currently within. So outside of this DVD, whole new set of rules. But since we have nothing to do with other dimensions, we can't really go by other dimensions' rules. The Tree of Life is really a program for our reality. There are others out there, but unless you're able to interact with them, that information isn't very useful to you. Petty Midnight Gospel says, science and supreme mathematics. Absolutely. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Nomadic, peace, peace. Framestar Film says, observe before you think before you speak. Yeah. Petty Midnight Gospel says, what brand are these toys? Type in FUNKO and then your favorite character from media. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a little figure. And what I'm going to do after the shadow work course is I'm going to work on just like a mini workshop for creating and programming servitors by using little bitty figures like this. Because I talked to one of my friends, and apparently she just cannot understand how to make it work. And like I keep giving suggestions, and it's like, oh, never thought of that, never thought of that, never thought of that. So I figure there's probably other people who want to do this type of magic, but never thought of that. So after the shadow work course, I think the very next thing I'm gonna get into is a small workshop about creating servitors and programming them with using toys or anything else really. And then after that, we're probably gonna do some Goetia stuff. Raul Pascual says, thank you, Travis, for this. You're welcome. Beautiful love. Peace. WT says, if you put in the Friday DVD, be prepared for hood shit. Right, right. Perfect Wheelid says, y'all ever wonder why we're under the same constellations if we're supposed to be flying on a ball through space? Shouldn't we see different constellations above us? Just wondering. You're absolutely right. That's some clean, solid logic right there. If we're moving, then everything else should be moving, unless everything's moving at the same speed, which could be plausible. Sounds like a stretch to me. But what makes more sense is that maybe that theory of movement is a belief system that we've all been programmed with to exclude us from thinking other thoughts. See, the thing about the mainstream and the root social matrix, the culture, is that when culture decides on certain frameworks of thought, number one, it locks you into that framework, and number two, it excludes other possible things to think about. So much so that it's self-policing. So if someone were to present a different paradigm of reality, they're immediately going to get ridiculed by the masses because everybody knows we're on a flying ball hurtling through space. But what would happen if you changed your beliefs and maybe entertained something different for 5 minutes, 10 minutes? What kind of thoughts could you have if you changed your paradigm of reality just to play around with it? Nobody says you have to adopt it and become a flat earther. No one's saying you have to become a member of the Nation of Islam or none of that stuff. But what would happen if you were to just attempt to see something from a different perspective? Maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to come up with creative solutions to problems that you didn't even know existed, including your own problems. Perfect Relid says, bro, I love how you don't shut down our own ideas, but you expand on them to make us think further. Yes, sir. I'm not here to shut anybody down. We had enough of that. But what I am here to do is at least to challenge you to think, because, I don't know everything. I know a lot, but there's a lot to know. And there's a way to know things better than what you used to. And one of those ways is to consider different options, right? To consider different options. I believe that there are no bad, broken people. Nobody's broken. Nobody's bad. Nobody's good either. We're just humans. And a human is an animal with a social construct. And within that social construct, we have groups of ideas. In the last video I did on Sunday, I drew out what a personality was. And it's a bunch of little loops and cycles collected underneath an umbrella that we call a personality. That's not a solid thing. At any given moment, those loops and cycles can change. See, right now, you're an entrepreneur, you're stacking your bread, you celebrate Black History Month, and you was out there on Juneteenth, right? But say a nuclear bomb dropped. All them little loops you just had shifted. Now you worried about survival. How am I going to get clean water? How am I going to make sure that I don't get robbed or mugged? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to drop all that vegan shit now. I'm back to eating meat, and I'm hunting wild animals. You see what I'm saying? Like, when the circumstance changes, just like that, those little loops of personality can start to change. So there aren't any bad people. We all have the intention of moving towards pleasure and running away from pain. Now, sometimes that may express itself in an inefficient way. Sometimes that may express itself in a way that doesn't get us what we want or need. There's bad behavior, but there aren't bad people. Some people just don't know how to be better. They don't know how to choose choices that will give them what they actually need. So I'm not here to shut anybody down. What I would love to do is to help people expand their choices, because that's what happened to me. And that's what's continuing to happen to me. Like all that stuff that people believe in so tightly, like all these beliefs and labels that we have, they can actually be changed very easily. And that's one of the things that I'd like for you to demonstrate to yourself. That's why I said, as homework, pick a new belief and entertain it for 5 minutes. Pretend that you have a whole different belief system and see just how flexible the mind actually is. You're not what you think you are. You're not what you think you are. I can say that, but you have to see it. Will Capru, peace, my brother. Good to see you. Hope your evening's going well. Will Capru says, hologram world, the sky is supreme technology. Yes, sir. Yeah, Micah says, perfect we lit. I saw a depiction that we in our swirling galaxy are in one spot and all others are around us, but far off. The whole thing looked like an eye and we were in the center. Yeah, and I've seen a diagram where the sun is hurtling in one direction and all the planets are spinning around it, and the galaxy is also spinning around it. None of us can go out there, so we don't know. What matters is, what's the framework that is useful and appropriate to you and your life, right? What is useful and appropriate to you and your life? That's what's the important framework. I just want somebody to show me one real picture of the planets. That's it. Just show me one photograph of the planets. Not a CGI composite, not a computer generated image. Right? We out here with vegan beliefs. Once that nuclear bomb hit, we out here eating rats and squirrels, right? All that good, sweet vegan shit went out the window after World War III happened, right? And likewise, you sitting here having all this doubt about yourself. Oh, I'm not worth it. I can't do it. I can't do it. But then say you actually manifest something you've been waiting on. All that negativity out the window. See, females happen to be really good at this. What I'm starting to see now, one of the major differences between masculine and feminine mindset is you got states. Well, you got states and you got frames, right? Your frame of reference, frames of reality. That's why I say maintain your frame. Hard to talk about this because I don't want to step on any toes, but Ezra Walker says, I need that real planet photo too, right? Perfect Relid says, I feel like Doctor Strange instead of broken hands. I'm dealing with tinnitus. LOL. Your video the other day on mystical Kabbalah truly helped. You said everything happens to us for a reason. Yes. Yes. All right. Maintain your frame and be aware of the different states that you enter into, because depending on, there's going to be an outside stimulus, right? You're going to smell something, taste something, see something, feel something, hear something. That raw stimulus is going to cause you to have feelings about it. And those feelings that you have about the stimulus that you just experienced is going to put you into a different state. Now that state, if continued, if repeated, those states are going to create your frame of reality. So the frame that you have is based on some states that you entertained, based on some feelings that you felt physically. Now imagine all that data stacking up over a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Now you've become a person who's locked into these patterns. And a lot of that data has been generalized and meshed into one ball of information over here, right? So now there's like one brand that you drink or you eat, right? I don't do Pepsi. I'm a Coca-Cola person. Why? Because my mom loved Pepsi and my dad loved Coke. And my dad was tough and strong, so I want to be like my dad. I choose Coke. I forgot about that, but that was a real memory for me. I remember my mom and dad having a debate over which soda was better. And I went with my dad's side. And from that point on, I was a Coca-Cola person. That's an example. All these different opinions and choices and things that you have in your life, you'd be surprised at where they actually came from. All right, so I think that was good enough. I think we did good. Good information. Anything else? Life is good. Afro Samurai says, I want to change the video, but the Om Namah Shivaya won't let me leave. Hey, if you're not listening to mantras, then consider this your daily dose. Of all the rituals and all the everything else that you do, if you're going to sleep on something, do not sleep on your mantras. Do your mantras consistently, because those are affecting your reality at the highest vibrational rate. Sitting in meditative posture, that's good. Doing your lesser banishing ritual pentagrams, that's good, right? Your yoga asanas, your pranayama with your breathing, your vegan diet or whatever diet you got going on, all your different things are important, but nothing is more important than those mantras, because they affect your reality at a very subtle vibratory rate. We went over this before, so most of y'all know. If you don't know, here's the diagram. Earth, dealing with the physical plane. This also deals with smell. This is where the sense of smell, the densest sense. Next up on the ladder is the sense of taste, the water element. Above that is the sense of sight. That's the astral, the fire element. Above that is with the air, that's the sense of touch, right? And above all those four senses is the Akash element, which is where you get the sense of sound, vibration. All of these are vibrations, but the sound vibration is the most subtle of all. Sound vibration exists without a human body. So you're literally tapping into something extraterrestrial and something cosmic when you're doing mantras. Specifically these mantras, because these ancient mantras have been around before anything else that you are aware of. Om Namah Shivaya, the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. Some of these mantras have been around longer than races of people, been around longer than countries, been around longer than anything that you know of. And they were pulled from somewhere deep in the past. Big facts. This mantra is over 10,000 years old. Over 5,000 years old recorded, but according to the text, over 10,000 years old. We have no idea where it comes from. It's my belief that this comes from a place beyond the physical dimension, extraterrestrial. But in any case, no matter what you're doing, don't ever sleep on your mantras. Take it from me. I wouldn't want to go a day without doing my mantras. I wouldn't want to know what that's like. MC Maestro says Pepsi was using stem cells and flavoring, and I didn't drink it after that. So notice at what level of your identity and your meaning matrix that touched you at. Just learning that piece of information altered a part of your belief matrix, and it changed your life that fast. That's what I mean. Framestar Film says, make the frame, keep on cleaning the window pane. Listen, man, you about to get a record deal. Julio Jorge says, do you have to say the mantras or just listen to a mantra? Look, man, vibration is vibration. Vibration is vibration. Now, it'll help if you say it out loud. It helps tremendously if you listen to it. Because look, it's not, you got to understand, you got your unconscious and then you have your conscious mind. Look at my hands. You got your unconscious and then you got your conscious mind. You don't have to just be utilizing your conscious mind. As a matter of fact, your conscious mind is what blocks you from from getting results. If you have it playing in the background, eventually it goes past your conscious mind and goes straight to the unconscious. Now you can say it out loud, you can whisper it on your breath, you can say it in your head, or you can just let it play in the background. I would suggest doing a mixture of all. It would be great if you could take the time to sit down and actually do mantra repetitions. But at very least, at bare minimum, let it play in the background. At bare minimum, let it play in the background. Because we're talking about vibrations. They don't activate just because you say it. Sometimes you saying it could actually be detrimental if you don't pronounce them wrong, right? Excuse me, if you don't pronounce them correctly. Perfect Relid says, where does your intelligence come from? Straight out of Compton. Excuse me, the unicorn dimension. Garrett Patterson says, do you believe higher beings are controlling the world, or is it energy? Well, is there a separation between the two? Wouldn't higher beings be living energy? Aren't you a living energy? Look at the words that you're using and break them down. Break them down. What are you? What is a higher being? What is energy? What is control? What is the world? Break those words down. Break them down. Notice any separations that may not need to be there. Because modern science tells you everything is energy, right? So at what point did a higher being stop being energy? Hall of Judah says, been on Ganesha mantra all week. Om Gam Ganapata Ye Nam. Awesome. Josh Tyler says, what's good, Trav? Just jumped in. 100. Peace. Rack 'em. Rack bar. All right. After I read these comments, I'm out because it is getting relatively late. I know some of y'all got to go to school tomorrow. WVT says, okay, I have mantras and in every day, but is there an order or just go how I feel? I had Saraswati on Thursday and Durga on that Tuesday. Had different days. I seen how they hit different. Experiment and do what's right for you. Experiment and do what's right for you. There are mantras that you can do that line up with the days, with the hours, with the moon cycles. There's a lot that you can pinpoint exactly. And then there are some that are universal. But ultimately, look for the one that touches your soul and do that one primarily. Ideally, to dedicate yourself, you want to pick one, maybe two, and try to do as many of them as possible. Because what happens is there's a thing called mantra siddhi. Mantra siddhi. And once mantra siddhi kicks in, you can do any mantra. Chels says, what's the name of the other mantra you always play? I know it's the Mahad Mrityunjaya mantra, but I can't find the one you play, LOL. Let me find that for you. If I go to my history, I should be able to pull it up. Because I was actually playing that one before this one. Urvarukamiva Pandanat Mrityor Mokshya Mamritat. You're talking about that one, right? It's loading. All right. So the Lost and Profound says, does everything have a soul? Because scientists can now create life without the sperm and egg. So soul is what makes life. Soul is the reason that life exists. Now, soul is behind everything. There's not like a tree's soul and a bug's soul and a person's soul, there's only one soul, and that soul is what animates matter. Now, coming down the levels of reality, like that chart that I showed, we start getting more and more separated and complex and differentiated. But ultimately, all that is just happening within the matrix or the womb of Prakriti. So soul is outside of that. Prakriti, being in proximity of soul, now starts to move. And that movement begins a process of replication. So now Prakriti creates within herself a version of soul. And that soul creates a version of itself, and it continues to replicate like that until we have hard, dense physical reality. So when you talk about a soul is its life, its consciousness itself. It is because of soul that this whole thing exists. So they're not like my soul and your soul. Now we have individual aspects of a subtle body, but even those are eventually resolved into ultimate soul. And that's where we get to the part called liberation, because then we don't have to play this game anymore. But to really look at it, we could say that all these are layers. Like say this is a big layered onion. Outside of the onion is soul. This is the onion itself. The first layer of onion is what's called buddhi. We call that our higher self, right? Now that reflects and becomes om. That becomes ahamkara. This is your Sahasrara crown chakra connection. This is your third eye connection. But this is what this video is about right here. This is the point where you begin to create definitions and meaning, right? This is where you start that sine wave process of up and down. Before, Prakriti was just this still balanced egg. But because she exists within the proximity of soul, that balance has now become movement. And that movement, that up, down, stasis, right? Life, death, and afterlife, or whatever, generator, operator, destroyer, that's called the gunas, rajas, tamas, and sattva. That flow, that vibration is what causes all the different things that we have. Because that vibration doesn't stop. It just gets more and more complex as it's bouncing off the perimeters of the matrix. It's becoming more and more complex, and that's how things are being created. Various different things, all possible things. So the layer underneath that, we get what's called the Akashic record, the Akashic realm, right? The causal plane. And a good way to think about this is a gigantic library full of DVDs. And every time you pick up a DVD, when you put it in the DVD player, you can now watch a life play out scene by scene. So we take the DVD of your life and put it in, and we get all the different mental constructs that are within your grasp. All the different mental, conceptual, archetypal constructs that you will ever experience, from being a little sperm in an egg to being all the way fully grown until you pass and you're finished with that physical body. All the mental constructs are contained within your specific Akashic DVD. Likewise, all the different emotional states that you will ever tap into are contained. Likewise, all the visuals and imaginations and experiences and spirits and all the things that you will ever daydream about, fantasize about, is also contained in that DVD. And then finally, your physical existence, from being nothing to being something, all that data is contained within that DVD. Now, guess what? All the other people that you interact with digitally on your phone, on your computer, and your physical life, they're also contained. Your experience with them is contained in your Akashic record as well. But all of them share the same soul that animates you, which is not within that DVD. It's outside. But its pressure upon the matrix is what causes all of this stuff to happen. You dig? Oh yeah, I was supposed to give you a video, wasn't I? I ain't got no panties on the dance floor. Somebody sent me that song. I haven't heard that song in literal decades. Pull them panties off. Pull them panties off. Pull them panties off on the dance floor. The fact that that song was able to make it on national television is astounding. Pull them panties off on the dance floor. Who remembers that song? Pull them panties off on the dance floor. Why on the dance floor? All right, so there's that track. Perfect Wheelid says Viper is a mantra. You cowards don't even, right? It's true. Black Witch, peace and greetings. I see that you are very, very passionate about Damien Eccles. Garrett Patterson says, why some people can see spirits and hear them, but others can't? Well, it all goes down to the matrix that you have, this set of beliefs that you have, right? It's a subjective experience. So when we're dealing with spirits, again, we're dealing with energy and change. These are not physical things, but this is our interpretation of those things, right? We're dealing with spirits. Like I said, these are algorithms of change. And if you don't have the framework, to conceptualize those patterns of change, I can't force you to see that. See, there's a thing called positive hallucination and negative hallucination. Positive hallucination is like when we were playing toys. I can see the fireballs coming out the dragon's mouth. I can see his wings flapping. That's a positive hallucination. I can actually see something that's not there. Negative hallucination is the opposite. Negative hallucination is I don't even see this dragon. I don't know where it is. I'm looking everywhere for it, but I can't find it, right? These are very real psychological things. We call it being in denial. There's a lot of people who have mental frameworks and structures full of negative hallucination. There's a lot of stuff that happens in their face that they cannot see. Not just spirits, but the behavior of their friends and families and loved ones, right? Or their own body telling them, hey, we need to change or else I'm going to rebel against you, right? There's all kinds of things that we don't see. But for a person to not be able to see spirits, that's because they don't have the necessary equipment, or should I say, I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying they don't have the conceptual frameworks to interpret that change of energy. Remember what I said, angels and demons and spirits, they're not ghosts floating around somewhere. We're literally dealing with mathematics. We're literally dealing with quantities and qualities shifting and moving. And if you don't have the technology to detect that shifting and that moving, I don't know what to tell you. Pull them panties off on the dance floor. Perfect Relid says, so why was Bobby Hemmett so adamant about certain people not having a soul? Just asking. Well, you got to consider the time frame that he came from and one of his side agendas, right? Just like when you look at all these different authors that write these books, don't just run out here and buy a book because it's got a cool title. If you can, spend some time looking into the author and where they're coming from. That's going to give you a much better perspective on what's happening in this book. Bobby Hemmett comes from a time where racial injustice and inequality was a big deal on his heart. And dealing with Black people as a culture in America, most of us didn't have the proper framework to approach this magic at the time. Look at those videos. They're made in the 90s, right? So people are just now coming out of a world full of just racial abuse. I'm not saying it's done with, but what I'm saying is that was the framework that we were born into, taught, and trained, and most of us weren't able to think outside of that. So one of the things that Bobby Hemmett did, along with Brother Panic, along with Farrakhan and all the Nation of Islam, was to help give Black America a culture and a mental framework outside of racial oppression. And in order to do that, you have to have a hero and a villain. You have to have a goal to stand for. You have to have a source of power. You have to have a personal identity. There's a lot of psychological aspects that have to go into play to empower someone who feels disenfranchised, who feels broken down, who feels like they don't have any hope. Now, if you're able to separate that from just the spiritual information, you're going to start to see a different story. So I'm not saying that Bobby Hemmett lied or was misled or nothing. He did exactly what he was supposed to do for his time. Because if I didn't watch Bobby Hemmett, I wouldn't be doing this. Bobby Hemmett literally let me know that I'm okay to work with magic and to work with spirits and to do something outside of Christianity. I was always scared I was going to go to hell, right? Years ago, working with magic, always in the back of my head, I secretly was like, well, just in case Jesus is real, I'm still going to go to heaven. That's a deep level belief system, a deep level mental framework. So imagine If you come from a world where you literally believe that your whole race started in chains as slaves, picking cotton and getting whipped and beat down, like that's the origin of your race, of course you're gonna have. That's what I'm talking about, this subject in this video. If your belief level is programmed like that, that literally determines what you can or cannot experience. You're not going to believe that you're worthy enough to start a business. You're not going to believe that you're worthy enough to be someone important. You're not even going to believe that you're someone important because your origin is a conquered people, right? So that's what most Americans believed. A lot still believe that. But it takes radical change to alter mainstream belief. He did an astounding job. I give him props for that. But the work is never done. Morad Magdalene says the white girl rapping on that video cracks me up. A commenter on the video said that song sounds like Final Boss music. I fell the fuck out. It does sound like Final Boss music. Do do do. Yeah, yeah. Pull them panties off on the dance floor. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. All right. Oh my, that's a lot of comments that just popped up. I thought I was done. Let me scroll back up. Perfect Relid says, I always felt all the elder teachers, C. Freeman L. Of all the elder teachers, C. Freeman L. was the most sensible because he said all people have souls. Such a peaceful being. Rest in peace. Right. So it's one thing to understand the times that we're in. This is what makes magic so special and an evolving science. Because the spiritual stuff is universal, the truth is going to be the same. But the thing is, it has to be filtered through a human being who's a part of some culture. So the lessons are going to have the flavor of the culture on it. That's why my videos, I'm going to approach different subjects and topics based on what I've been through and based on the reality that we live in today. Likewise, Dion Fortune did the same. Bobby Hemmett did the same. Whoever you learn from is going to do the same, right? Unless they're like a yogi living in the Himalayas, removed from culture, then they're more timeless. Rob Blackstorm says, Peace, Trav. Mantras come from the 50 gates of Bina. Those are the 50 skulls on the neck of Kali Ma, also called the Benai Elohim. Ooh, nice. I like it. Azrael Walker says, I do appreciate my parents for being 5%ers, cleared the way for me. Yes, sir. And see, this is why we should give respect to the ancestors, the elders, and the people who came before us. Because if it wasn't for them, we would be thinking in a whole different paradigm. Look around at all the people around you in your life. You could have easily been just like one of them. Think of the most dense knucklehead out here. It ain't too much different between him and you, or her and you. So it's good to be grateful or to be appreciative of, at least, of the people who came before you to help you think more efficiently. So I'm grateful to all my teachers. Hollow Vegeta said, my father raised me pro-black. It took a long time for me to see that was a religion too. Precisely, my friend. I know what you mean. Good. Violet Moon says, I'm a knucklehead. Well, don't let me see you on Fortnite, because there's something I do to knuckleheads. Crust Q says, is Hollow Earth real? I've never seen it. I don't know. It's real if it has an emotional mental effect on you. That's for sure. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. And if you permit something to have an emotional or mental effect on you, then it's real enough. Real enough to be real. True enough to be true. I believe in this thing so hard that it has a mental, emotional, physical effect on my existence. Real enough, baby. Jatoria Morris says, ancestors get a nice mention under this MAGA new moon. MAGA dealing with the ancestors. See, that's why I like you. All right. I am Whole E says, Trav, do you have a PayPal? I do. Sheesh. I'd have to find it though. Right now, it'd be easier if you were to click on the Cash App in the description of this video. Otherwise, my PayPal is LVX777. But thank you for the thought. Either way, I appreciate you. Red Black Storm says, Hollow Earth is real. A giant sinkhole opened in China or Japan that has vegetation and supposedly new species. Yeah. I don't know. Again, like I said, I haven't seen it. But what I also know is nothing is true. Everything is permitted, which means that what if there was another explanation that made it make sense? What if there were at least 5 different explanations that made it make sense? What's important is this information useful and appropriate to you and your purposes? That's the most important thing. Other than that, I'll have to see it myself. I don't disbelieve it or believe it. If it's useful to me, though, I'm going to make it useful. Mayan Golan says, what you burning? Well, it's not fire, it's actually water. And it is Fruity Pebbles. Fruity Pebbles. Love me some Fruity Pebbles. All right. I think we did it. I think we're here. I think we got what we need. Good information. If you guys missed it, go ahead and rewind or whatever. I hope y'all have a great evening. Hope you learned something useful, right? Remember what I said. Think about your beliefs. Your beliefs. Not what to believe, but how you're believing. This is important. You got to expand your levels. You got to expand. I said this on Thursday. It was. But check that out. Right? At that very lowest level, you got body and feeling. Just your dense body. Now, if you extend above that, right, this is the physical plane. If you extend above that, you've got a layer of existence in mind that's about like and dislike, right? What you like about those sensations that you felt in your body, or what you dislike about those sensations, right? Then you start building memories about that. This is how you feel about your likes and your dislikes of what you felt in your body. The way that your mind works is literally a program, and it's stacked and layered like this. And if you're able to recognize at which layer things are happening, you have greater control over yourself. See, most people don't recognize this process, So they're tossed to and fro, right? Then if you keep expanding, you got how you feel about how you feel about what you like and dislike about what you literally felt, right? And it keeps on going all the way to the point where you get to that higher self level. That's when you start getting to intuition. Intuition is not what you feel in your body. Intuition is not what you like and you dislike. Intuition is not how you feel about what you like and you dislike about your body or what you felt with your body. Intuition is not how you feel about how you feel about what you like and dislike about what happened to your body. Intuition is further removed on those planes, right? So again, just like we're talking about the higher self here, right? Intuition doesn't happen in the objective experience. Intuition is way up here. The influence of intuition is happening roughly outside of your DVD, right? So if this is something that you physically feel or you emotionally feel or you imagine about, that's not intuition. That's your regular brain. All right, I'm leaving for real this time. On the dance floor. All right. Good night to all my friends. Good night to everyone who comes here consistently and downloads this information. I do it for you. Thank you for new folks, old folks. Thank you for the famous people that are using non-famous screen names so they don't gather attention. Wink. I appreciate y'all. Because either way, as this information is distributed, we have a massive impact on the objective reality. No matter what level we're operating from. The more aware that we are, the more control we have over what we get. Beliefs, meaning, your states, your frames, pay attention to those things. Life doesn't just happen to you. It doesn't just happen. Everything is framed. And all those frames cause a certain state of mind. And that state determines what you can and what you cannot experience. Or rather, determines how you interpret what you experience. All right? Here we go. That's the magic. Namah Shivaya. All right. We are out. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Tat Sat. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you guys. Peace. Check out my glittery finger ring. Shiva.
Shiva.